Hey everybody, I'm going to be showing you how to effectively pick out the right type of camouflage for the outdoor setting that you're playing in, be it Airsoft, Nerf, Paintball, laser tag, whatever it is you're doing outside. If you need to be concealed, this will be helpful. Now, the conditions that I'm filming in may not be exactly what you're going to be playing in, but the techniques that I'm using to test out what type of camouflage is best for this type of scenario will work for anything, be you in the snow, be it springtime, summer, whatever the setting is. The types of techniques that I use to pick what type of camouflage I'm going to use will be helpful in this. Now, I've got 4 types that I'm going to be testing out. The first is woodland marpat, used by the United States Marines, as well as desert marpat, which is also used by the Marines. Then we've got our standard BDU. Pretty much every branch of the United States military used this at some point. And then we've got this kind of tannish looking hunter's camo that I happen to have. There are many different types of camouflage out there, but there's not really a universal camouflage per se. There's not one camouflage that works really well in every setting. So I have multiple types on hand that I use, and before I go to a game, I go to the site and I use these techniques to figure out what I should be wearing for that game in that setting. A good test site to pick out for testing this kind of stuff is a location that will that'll be able to compare both the ground and whatever ground cover you have and the trees. Most outdoor places where you're going to be are going to have significant amounts of tree cover that are also have, I picked this evergreen tree because there's some spots of green on it still, even though parts of it have died. So you want a good spot that represents just about every type of cover you're going to have in the place where you're going to play. Then I take my camouflage and I'm just going to set them out on this tree branch here, big enough so that way I can see each of the types. I've also alternated from light to dark, so that way it's easier for me to pick out when I'm checking this out from a distance. So let's go do that. Behind me, we've got the 4 types of camouflage that we're testing. We are about 50 feet away from their location, so this is a good time to start weeding out what camouflages definitely aren't going to work for this environment. We'll start with the swatch that is closest to me, and that's the hunter's camouflage that I picked up. That stuff's doing pretty well when it comes to the lighter types of earthy browns and dead leaves and twigs and stuff like that. But the problem is it lacks any darker colors that'll mix in with the darker types of tree bark that we have in this environment. Next over, we have the Vietnam era camouflage, which is pretty popular stuff to use. It's doing very well in here. It might be a little bit too dark because of just the amount of dark colors that are in this makes it kind of stand out from the types of tans that we have present here. Speaking of tan, moving over, another one is the digital desert marpat that the United States Marines use. There's pretty much nothing in this camouflage pattern that's working for this environment, so we can pretty much axe that one right off the bat. This is not to say that it's a bad camouflage to use, it's just not good in this setting. I've seen it used very well in, it doesn't have to be a desert setting, I've seen it used very well in the fall when there's a lot of tans and colors that match it like that. And then finally, we have the woodland digital marpat, which is, again, the Marines. That one's doing really well because it has a good mix of the lighter tans that you see and some of the dead leaves and earth and stuff like that, but it also has enough dark colors and green to blend in with the evergreens that are here and with the dark colors of bark that we have on the trees that are exposed. Now, none of these will work very well with the snow that we've got down here, but the problem with that, if you try and get snow camouflage, is the second you go up against tree cover like this, then you're going to be really easy to pick out. You're going to look like a walking snowman. So that's why it's important to understand your environment and also understand your cover, because you're not always going, if you're going with full-on snow camouflage, you're not always going to be in the snow itself. You're going to be taking cover behind trees and stuff like that. So it's best to weigh your options, where you're going to be hiding, and really when you're in the middle of a snow-covered field, are you going to be trying to hide more then? Or are you going to be trying to hide more when you have options like tree cover and bushes and things like that? We're going to back up a little bit more and just kind of get a final feel for what camouflage would work best here. this is the final range that we'll do the testing at, and I'm actually going to use the zoom function of the camera to help us decide what camouflage would work best in this situation. Now, just from here, I can tell you that the desert Marpat is not going to work. It sticks out like a sore thumb from here. So we're going to actually have to decide between the other three based on, you know, as we zoom in closer, which one is still the toughest to see. So let's use the function here. Still tough to see most of them, but at this range, we're at 4 times zoom, and that hunter's camouflage is starting to stick out more. But the Marpat woodland and the traditional Vietnam era one are still doing pretty good. Let's adjust it a little bit here and zoom in some more. This is 20 times zoom from where I am, and personally, I think the digital Marpat has taken the gold here in this situation. Digital woodland Marpat, that is. The Vietnam era one's a close second, but I still think it's a little bit too dark for this setting. I'm gonna zoom back out here, and we'll finish things up. That concludes the testing. What I really want you to be able to take away from this is that the techniques that I use to find which camouflage works best can work in any type of setting or climate. Be it spring, summer, winter, or fall. Be you in up north in the United States, or you could be even down under in Australia. It doesn't matter as long as you have different types of camouflage that you can test up against each other. And doing range tests at 50 feet and 150 feet will really help you see how your camouflage is effective. Because if you're just wearing camouflage for the sake of wearing it, then that's fine. But if you really want it to work, you need it to work with your surroundings. I have different types of camouflage on hand so that way I can adapt my camouflage to whatever setting that we're playing in. So, you know, you can go to an army surplus store just about anywhere in the United States and pick up this Vietnam era stuff. It works pretty well, but as you saw, it's not quite as versatile as some of the more modern stuff. The digital Marpat did really well, and I think part of the reason why digital patterns separate themselves from traditional type of splotches like these types of camouflage have is because of how digital camouflage works. If you look up close at this, it's a bunch of really small boxes. It looks pixelated. It looks like you're zoomed in on a computer screen. Well, if you're looking at an image on a screen, just normally everything looks round and all the shapes look right. But if you zoom in on that image, then you start to see all the pixels. Digital camouflage works the same way, and it eliminates those lines that you see in the splotchy types of camouflage that both of these types of camouflage had. So if you do have a chance to pick up digital camouflage, and it looks like something that would work in your area, I would suggest it, but this stuff is not the worst stuff in the world that you can utilize. That's all I've got.